Hey, it's Jade, welcoming you to another one of the Currents virtual sessions. And today we are joined by Bartees Strange. He has a new album that is out now. It's called Live Forever. And Bartees, thank you so much for checking in with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how are you doing? How is the pandemic lifestyle treating you these days?
It's all right. I go to the studio a lot, and it's been like a lot of records that I've got to work on this like throughout the pandemic. So just I've been pretty busy, which has been really nice. I've been able to keep my mind off of everything, thankfully. But now I'm like tired, so and I'm like reading the news again, and I'm like, oh no, no,
Yeah.
please give me another record to work on so I can not be on Twitter all day. But
I feel
yeah,
like we all should have learned our lesson months ago to just avoid the news entirely, shut yourself in
right.
a studio somewhere and just, put on the headphones.
Yes. Yes.
But I do love that you've been so busy because it's been a treat for us because we get to listen to so much music because not only do you have Live Forever, which just came out, but earlier this year, you released an album of covers and, well, I guess your interpretation of some songs from the National, Say Goodbye to Pretty Boy. And I have to say, you and I share a favorite band. I'm a huge fan of the Nationals, so I do have to say that is a bold move to kick off your musical career pretty much with this album of covers.
I
Did
guess. I don't know. It just felt right. I don't know. It kind of happened just so organically. It just, I heard, I've loved the National forever, like since I was probably in high school. And I just felt like as I got older, I just grew with the band, like so many National fans, like we all feel like they're ours, and you know, I just was doing a lot of thinking about just like larger like indie rock, like the space where music is going, and when I was at that show, it just kind of hit me. I was like, dang, like I live in DC, like one of the last majority minority cities in the country, and I'm like the only black guy here. Like, how is that possible? And just thinking about like the whole ecosystem and just like how there should be more bands that are like people of color that are doing cool things and have huge careers like them, and I was inspired by that, so I wanted to cover them.
yeah,
But yeah, it's great.
that is a big conversation that I've had with several of my friends, not just being like, in the crowd looking around and being the only black person, brown person in the audience, but also being on stage and performing to an all white crowd, which in
Yeah,
Minnesota happens a lot. Especially for, I mean, we're a public radio station, like for the kind of bands that we play and for the audience that we have listening, it becomes, at least for some of my friends, like an uncomfortable situation. And that idea of how do we create these spaces where people feel comfortable showing up, and I think that's something that has been a big, something to grapple with in 2020 of how do we, the voices have been pretty loud of we need to do something to change this, especially in the music industry. Do you feel like you've seen any change in the music industry since the beginning of the year?
I mean it's completely shut down.
Well, besides the fact that
But
the
yeah,
ecosystem is like,
yeah.
slowly falling apart.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Like, it's so hard to tell. Like before I did music, like I worked in the nonprofit sector, for the last 10 years in climate organizations and labor organizations and, public interest groups. And they're trying to deal with the same questions. Like, everybody's like, how do we like have a more reflective like organization or label or in music industry? Like, it's the same, but I think it starts with like, like putting people of color like in these organizations and like or on these stages and like really backing them and letting them be creative and do things their own way and seeing like how things can open up. I mean, and I think it's tough for people to let power go. Power is nice to have, and it's really what artists are asking for is like a power shift. So like same thing in all the other places. It's the same thing that has to happen in music. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Are things changing? Sure, every day. I don't know.
I will say when I first started in the radio world early on, somebody told me that to play women was I had to think about it like how I play jazz, and like like you have to sprinkle it very think about it almost like women were a genre. And I think that
Right.
for the history of music, I think like black music was thought of as like a genre instead of thinking about the fact that, black people, women make all kinds of music. It's not, women aren't just singer
Mhm.
songwriters. Black people aren't just making hip hop. And I think that is something that, as I've grown in the industry, it's something that's shifted. And I hope we continue to kind of go in that direction.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I heard like those last two Tyler the Creator records, like I was like, oh, it's about to happen. Like, I was like, because I was like, yo, this is these are like pop records, like, and just being like in love with what he was doing, and then like Lil Nas X and all that, and I was just like, yo, like, and then Namdi put out Brat, and I was like, yes, like we're about to like, it's gonna happen. So it's exciting. It's really cool to make music right now, and there's a lot of people to look up to. So it's really cool. Mhm.
Yeah, you said something that was kind of echoed in both an NPR article I saw and a Rolling Stone article, where you said, people are excited about my music, but it means nothing if I'm the only one. And about that, that representation and that having a group and a cohort of other musicians and kind of like the ecosystem all helping each other out. But I kind of wanted to go back to the beginning. Was there an artist that you saw and that was the artist that made you go, oh, I should be doing that? Not maybe the national, but like an artist that, or maybe made you think I could do that.
Oh, I mean, Tunde,
Yeah.
TV on the radio, and
Yeah.
Kele, Block Party.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
when I mean, those two guys. Like I remember watching that Wolf Like Me performance on Letterman, and I lost my mind. I was just like, you can do that, like because I had only seen like Jimi Hendrix, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Like, that's cool. I love guitar. But when I saw him, like Tunde and them do Wolf Like Me and the way they played it and just like the message it sent me as like a black kid in Mustang, Oklahoma that was completely lost and confused and had no black friends and was in an all white environment, just like, who am I? And then someone like that just like appeared out of nowhere, or like Beauty Pill in Washington, D.C., Chad Clark. Like, come on, like seeing those little, it was like a flare went up in my life, and I was like, there's another person like me. So like, yeah, there were a few people like that. Yeah. Mhm.
is that why you moved to DC or you moved to Brooklyn because of those artists and those bands?
Well, yes, and I mean, in college, like I was trying to like get a job and everything, so interning and normal person stuff. And I was honestly like, I tried to like not play music. Like I was like, I gotta like get a job and help my brothers, and my sister, and work. I'm from a normal family, and I went to DC and got an internship and worked nights and just got a job. I had to live, and I've just been working and playing music as often as I could on the side, like just grinding with my friends. So, you know, DC was cooler than Oklahoma, so that's why I came here. And then
Yeah.
I got like a really sweet job, and I hated it, and I was like, I want to move to New York and play in bands, and and then everything changed, and so yeah, and I've just been doing both ever since. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of balancing that out. But you do have
Mhm.
a song, and a song that you pre recorded a couple of songs for us that we're going to listen to in just a moment here. But one of those is called Mustang, and it's about that idea of, oh, I need to get the heck out of here, get
Yeah.
out of Oklahoma. And
Yeah.
what was it like growing up in Oklahoma? Was it that immediate I need to get out of here? Because you do come from a kind of a musical family. I mean, your mom was an
Yeah.
opera singer.
Yeah, my mom's an opera singer. She's like an amazing singer. Taught me everything. Um, but yeah, and I had like a normal upbringing in Oklahoma, except for it's a very conservative state, conservative town, not a huge city. Like outside Oklahoma City, Mustang. I played football. I was one of the black kids that played football, and that was just kind of how I got by. I wasn't really like out with myself. I just kind of played my role. And people have asked me a lot about Oklahoma in the last few months, and it's like I don't think I ever realized how like afraid I was all the time until I moved to New York and saw like so many free like black people, and I was like, I've never been like free. I've always been afraid of something, and that kind of like really became myself. I kind of feel like so. Oklahoma, it was like a dull racism kind of grind. Watching my parents go through a lot of stuff, it was tough. But at the time, I didn't know how bad it was. I was just living my life.
Yeah, I think that's
Mhm.
part of it. When you're living your life and looking down, it's really hard to realize that there's other things. And this album
Yeah.
does feel extremely free. While it is asking a lot of those same questions that we've been talking about, it does have some joy and some exuberance. And I mean, even the relationship with your father. We're going to hear your song "Boomer" in a moment, and the part in there, because my dad's also a boomer, and just the
Hmm.
idea of sitting in an attic with your dad and having a chance to have some conversation. Do you feel like as you've grown and changed and sort of broadened your own horizons by moving around and getting out of Oklahoma, do you think that's altered and changed that relationship you have with your parents?
Yeah, big time. Like my mom and dad, they were always like, "Go, like do stuff, do everything," and me and my brother and sister all like did different things, but I was the one that was like, as soon as I could have gone, I went, like I was like straight out. So I think they kind of always knew I was going to be that one that was kind of always gone. And I've always been, I missed a lot of stuff. You feel guilty. And so your relationship with your parents change as you get older. I'm the oldest. So, but now we all live near each other. Like they live in DC now. They just moved here. So we're like all out here. It's so wild how that worked out. So now we're like way closer than we've been since I was in like high school. It's wild.
Oh, well,
Mhm.
I'm glad you guys are all there. Are you going to be able to get together for the holidays? Or is it still.
Probably, I don't know. My mom, she pulls up like last minute, like, yo, so I know we weren't going to do anything, but this is what we're doing now. And it's just like, you just got to risk your life. That's
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
You just got to
that's
risk
how
your
it is
life.
with a mom.
Yeah.
Do
I
you
was
do you
like,
guys
yeah.
do you guys sing Christmas carols? Do you get like all together and sing? Is that
Oh my
like the
God.
holidays?
So my mom actually asked all of the kids to put together videos of us singing for like the grandparents and everybody. So now I'm the only one with a studio. So I gotta like so I'm about to yeah, I gotta yes. To answer your question, yes.
So more work on top of all of the things that you're already doing in the studio.
Do you hear where I'm at right now?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's the
This
best
is
though. I'm so hyped. Like I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like 7 months ago, I was like sending press releases at work. So this is lit.
Yeah. It's not a
Yeah.
bad way to be, especially in a year that's been as bonkers as it has been. So congratulations again on the latest album, Live Forever. You also just did a cover of Samia's Pool, so that's out
Yeah.
as well right now. So yeah, just congratulations on everything you've been doing, and I'm glad that you're busy because that means we'll get more music from you in the future.
Yeah. I'm excited about it. Thanks.
Well, we are going to be listening to some music. That's what you're here for, some of this live music. So, Bartees was kind enough to pre record a few songs off of his album for us to enjoy. And again, Live Forever is out now. And yeah, this is Bartees Strange. It's on the Currents Virtual Sessions.
Yo, what's up, KCMP? Thank you so much for like having me do this, and shout out to The Current for being so supportive of Live Forever. Like, I really appreciate it. I'm gonna play 3 songs from Live Forever. I hope you like them. And we'll start off with Mustang. I think that's one that like most people like. we'll start with that. But yeah, I'm Bartees Strange, and thanks again for having me. A man bled out this morning out. The antecedent is not the first time I fell in my arms. The pain of being pure again. Walking home at 4 a.m. Hours to go before it ends. It's hella dark and I can't avoid the heat. 2 trains hella long, too high to sleep. My crooked bones, you're screaming, cursing, smiling, you're killing me. Is anybody really up for this one? If I don't hold nothing back, is anybody up for this one? I know that you never asked a beast from the southern coast. Last night I looked at you, I knew I didn't really feel that much. My life for a living now, that's why I really can't tell you stuff. The way that we all know how it's gonna end. I hate America. I just wait for my horses now. I just wait for my horses now. To have a life you love but know you're undeserving. Last night I got so puffed up, near lost my job. It's nice to think that folks are near. Waking up was hard this year, but if I didn't move the way I did, then tell me how else could I be? Could I be? Could I be? Could I be? And I came with a mouthful of blood. I'm hurt, cause no one can see me. Don't ask, why don't I want to bring you solace? Thank you. The next song I'm gonna play is called Boomer. Hope you like it. It's one of my favorites off the album. Hey bruh, look, I'm the Mac. And that was way before I did them Ziggies in the act. And that was back when I was doing Harlem Nights with 20 racks. They call me Hershey because the money coming relays, we on track. I've relapsed. I told my girl that I was working, that's a lie, I meant it trap. Told my mama I was saving, cause I spent that shit on wax. Told my friends I couldn't make it, you know I got the back. And I know most people gonna say what they wanna say. Most people gonna smoke what they wanna smoke. And others, they don't care about no other things. And sometimes it's kinda hard to tell exactly where I wanna go. It's hard and I know it don't show. hold on. Yes, I'm the man. Walked across the street the other day to get a grind. Came back to the trap and smoked it with my old man. He told me that I'm the hardest nigga else is in my hand. You know me, blessed nigga on the block, even the hoes know. Smoking on the lot, they say that's cops, you love the trees, bro. I stand on the corner, landing jets are calling me throw. Dripping since a youngin', I've been eating since a teen, bro. And I know most people gonna say what they wanna say. Most people gonna smoke what they wanna smoke. And others, they don't care about no other things. And sometimes it's kinda hard to tell exactly where I wanna go. I know it don't show. I know it don't show. And I can't even lift my hands up. That's what we dance for, Lord. I'm going in. I'm right with. I get all of my hopes up. Something explodes, Lord. I never. You can't hurt me. I've been buried alive by the devil. That's in them hills. You can't save me. I've been buried alive by the devil. That's in them hills. No, no. You can tell me that it's all a lie, I know. Is he holy? All I know is that he's gonna find me. Thank you.
That was Boomer and Mustang as performed by Bartees Strange on the Currents virtual session. And thanks again to Bartees, and thanks to our technical producers, Jesse and Derek, and our engineer, Peter. And thank you for coming and checking it out. And, well, keep checking back for the next virtual session.